Let's head into breakout number 3. This is changes and goals. You guys know the format now. Should be a new group. Quick introduction of yourselves. Very, very quick. We're going to come back here faster than the previous ones. So changes and goals. What changes do you see happening to the industry? You know, I know some of you talked about that already a little bit. And what are your personal or company goals? Share those. You know, holding yourself accountable is something that leaders do, successful people do. And the only way to hold yourself accountable is to tell other people what are your goals, and tell your friends and tell your family and write them down and look at them. So, you know, go ahead and share that with the group, and we'll see you here in just under 10 minutes. So this is going to be a quick one.
Go, sending you off.
It's kind of hard as far as industry changes. I think the structure to our businesses are going to change, having gone through this. And I was never really a fan of remote employees. I mean, some roles in our company, definitely I didn't have a problem with, but more of the data entry process clerk positions, I definitely wasn't a fan of that. I have now seen that it is able, you know, people are able to be somewhat productive, I mean, mostly productive at their homes. And so I'm rethinking just in terms of how to structure the company, what positions it makes sense. I'm sorry, I don't use your software, but if I did, I think I heard that you guys have some productivity stuff built into it. So that's something, if you don't, that's something that would be definitely very helpful to business owners as far as the internal structure changing. So that's something I would be looking for in a software product.
One of the things that we did was we still offer a runner to pick up the papers at your office, and we have offered to print their documents for free during the COVID-19 mess so that we're not sending somebody into their offices, and most of their offices aren't open. So when we can, our runner has been quarantined and not been out in the public for the main purpose is that he'll be clean and safe and ready to go when they are ready to open their offices. But realistically, I think that's several months away before they're back up to full capacity in the office, if they ever go back to that, since remote working has worked so well.
Important. I think that we have moved in Ohio, there are 88 counties. Every county does something a little different in terms of how they allow us to retrieve our documents. Some counties have very nice online dockets, and they put up the service packets and allow us to download our service documents, which then allows us to move them on to the courthouses. And then some of the more rural counties have, you know, really strict rules about, they don't have an online docket. They use like various different color paper and force our process servers to come to the courthouse. Nothing makes sense. It's very antiquated. And I think with the courthouses shutting down, it has forced some of them to take a look at their practices in terms of, you know, some of them that would have like an online docket, but they would still force our process server to come to the courthouse because of the raised seal that the clerk still uses with a 1940s instrument, you know, to say that this was certified from the clerk of courts, where other larger counties have gone more to a digital type format. So I've been on the phone, you know, when you can get somebody on the phone right now, but I think the time will come in a
we're part of our local association, and my wife and I are part of the 3 people that are certified to do the training for our servers. We're going to add an extra module in to kind of talk about what you can do to be safe. We always talk about being shot with a gun, but truly, process servers are catching COVID more than we're actually catching someone shooting at you, an experience that I actually had one time. I'll end right there with that because there's 60 seconds, allow someone else to jump in.
The only changes that I'm planning on making, well, I'm on a professional process service here in Vicksburg, is I'm going to do a little bit more networking with a lot more process servers around in this area because we are pretty close, and some of us kind of spread it out. And another change that I'm going to make is during this time, it's kind of dangerous. A lot of people's attitudes have changed as far as receiving summons, and I'm getting, well, right now, I'm getting more, a lot of divorce summons. And he's
Okay, we gotta,
so they're losing the job and everything. So we have to, I do a lot of checking before I go to make a serve.
I see a lot more electronic.
Yeah.
A lot more electronic. I know we are serving the mayor and the AG in DC electronically by an order that was signed, I believe, April 6th. Today, an attorney said, I'll accept the papers electronically. We use we do not use Serve Manager. We use another program, and we're having them customize an affidavit for us for electronic service.
One of the adjustments that I've made is at Honor Process Services here in Frisco, Texas. We have increased our skip tracing prior to attempting to serve.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To eliminate contact, to increase contact rather, and to make it less trips to the place, less aggravation for the people. They keep seeing you coming back all the time. Not only does it delay you making profitability out of it, it also is taken as harassment a little bit. So I'm trying to eliminate a lot of trips and do a lot more legwork on contact with people, phone numbers, etc. after you're at the location.
And I've started using my body camera more now.
That's a big thing. That's a liability issue. So just in case something happens, and no one can say you did this, or like technically, if you go in a commercial building, they can give you a trespassing charge, but it's open to the public. So I mean, the body camera helps you in a number of aspects.
Oh no, I don't use it in a commercial building.
No, I mean just in general. Just in general, it helps you, like personal or commercial. I mean, where I'm at, there's a lot of commercial building, high rises. I do residential once in a while, in case something happens. If you go serve someone, you know, on divorce papers, they like ready to hit you with a bat or whatever, send the dog after you. So.
But I've gotten a few new certifications in security related areas. FEMA, hygiene, workplace safety and hygiene. I've gotten what else? I've gotten multiple certifications where I'll be able to market myself as a notary loan signing agent, as a field inspector. Sadly, there will be a lot of debt collection going on. And I'll pick and choose because that's not my favorite thing to do. But I have a past life of being a training facilitator and in retail. So my network could help me do some loss prevention work as well as safety, hygiene, food handling. So I'm trying to not have too long a list. I'm trying to break it down to 5 or 6 things that look and feel the same and would appeal to a large number of businesses.
I think, just real quick, I just think it'd be great for the states to adopt some of the other states where you're allowed to serve it by email or by text message, or some other way, which would be a lot faster. We've got documentation that's being served by a receipt. So hopefully it goes that route as well.
I think, as far as professionally, what we're going to do is, being safe. I think protecting our staff, protecting our resources. Are things going to change? Absolutely. I mean, my bosses and myself, a little bit to that extent, are old school. Working remotely has never been, when people want to work from home, we're kind of like, yeah, right, you're going to work from home. But I think now it's a reality that we have to embrace and, find a way to make it work. The old saying, what gets measured gets done. I think it's really important to track what your staff is doing. I don't want to be Big Brother. I don't want to watch and see if they're logging in, when they're logging in, when they're logging out. I just want to make sure I give them the work and it gets done in a timely fashion. As far as personally, what I started in April is I'm tracking all my expenses, not just personally, but for my company. There's a lot of things that we're buying now, the PPE, enhanced cleanings, education, this and that. So we're going to just track all of our expenses related to COVID-19. And as personally, I just want to track everything I'm spending to see if there's things you can do without. Because I think once you really start writing stuff down, you start seeing things and you're like, oh, I don't need that anymore. Amazon kind of becomes more of a habit than a need. And also just professionally, everything you do with your staff, if you've got employees, whatever, write it down, document everything you do. We're having enhanced cleanings done. At this time, it takes me 2 hours, because in the event there is a claim down the road, I think it's important to have that documentation, just like process serving. Thank you.
So what I've been doing is everything I've been doing, website development, social media. That's the background that I come from. And what I'm doing now is building teams so that when the world reopens, it's not just me doing it anymore. There's going to be, with what I've been able to tune into in New York over the last few years, having learned this business and having come from where I come from, there's going to be a tsunami of work coming later this summer. And at that point, the problem is going to be managing it. So I'm trying to get ahead of that by bringing in some people that don't have bad habits, that can learn very simple steps to put this together. And I've worked very hard to come up with a process that is quick, that's easy, that makes sense, that anyone can do if they just know how and why they're doing what they're doing. So wish me luck.
I'm thinking that a lot of things are going to change in terms of virtual, because in New York, we're doing virtual courts right now. So I think that a lot of court procedures are going to change, and that's going to affect our business, and we're going to have to figure out how to stay relevant while people are serving through e-file and stuff like that. So those are my concerns. But in the meantime, again, I agree, we're going to have new business when we open up. And the trick is going to be, as you said, Robert, making sure that everybody's on the same page when you're working remotely. So those are the things I'm thinking about and how I'm trying to figure out how to grow my business. Again, I've done things like making alliances with new people.
Oh.
Gail, you muted yourself on accident. You said you made new alliances.
Alliances with various people to network and hopefully have enough to cover what I think is going to be a big jump in services.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So final session. Why don't we jump right in? And by the way, I just want to say, if we didn't get to all of the topics from the last two, feel free to throw those into chat in terms of if you had ideas on marketing or serving safely, and just throw those into the group chat if you had some ideas that you think we should be sharing, post-meeting and ongoing, or you may get some thoughts afterwards, and that's really what Slack is for. So, what's the future? What changes are going to be made? Who wants to? Why don't we call on Chuck Kane? What was your group talking about?
So we were talking a lot about just a lot of the technology changes that have happened. It kind of seemed like this fast forwarded a lot of those changes, and we'll see where it goes going forward when things start to normalize. People are doing a lot more e-filing, it seems, and email communication instead of face-to-face communication. So that was a big part of the conversation. A little bit of a concern was, what's it going to mean for the future of serving papers electronically, and so that was a concern some people brought up. So that was about it from us.
Yeah. Yep. E-service is a concern, but it's also an opportunity. We know many of you here are already doing it. And we certainly believe that it can be a real value add for your clients, especially when the courts are mandating it. So, being part of that process, as opposed to the law firms doing it without you, is really something to be looking at. I guess, how about Mindy? How about your group?
Sorry, just unmuting myself there. A couple of people were talking about some things that they've changed in their business model where they don't go pick up papers, they offer to print them themselves, and that a lot of these law firms and stuff, remote working is working. So those kind of things coming into place and being ready will be helpful in the future.
Great. Stephanie, I don't know which group you were in, Stephanie Saylor, but what about your group?
There we go, unmute. Yeah, we had some of the same discussions that we were trying to, with our goals. For me, it was internalizing the goals. I had to update my employee handbook, get my COVID-19 safety policy in there, my work from home policy, which I never had before. Some of my employees are successful at it and some are not. So I definitely had to get that work from home policy in. So I hope people are thinking about that, because your employees are another challenge, or not, but can be. For the goals in the future that are non-internal is to get some less physical services offered so that we're ready more on the electronic side of things.
Mm-hmm. Great. And by the way, your first response is right into attorney Cindy Elkin's wheelhouse. She's going to be coming on here shortly, touching on on some of those topics. Kylie, how about your group?
Yeah, so a little bit of concern about how things are going to be virtual moving forward, and kind of what that means for the industry. We also talked a little bit about kind of how to get things in order now to prepare for those changes and how you can be flexible, because we're not sure, there's no precedent. So like, what can you do to kind of stay flexible to how things are going to change in the future?
Yep. Flexibility and openness. And, we call those pivots. What are the opportunities? There are always opportunities, even in uncertain times. I saw somebody say, these are not uncertain times. These were just sudden. The world is always changing, and it's our job to be prepared and be ready to react when the world changes. And it's happened many times. The examples they gave us, taxi cabs to Uber, Netflix to Blockbuster. That was, the world has changed, and did we as an organization adapt and change? Tori, what about your group? Or you're on mute.
We just have to go with it. That's what the future is going to be. Now, particularly where government agencies and businesses have not had to deal with it, it's going to be cost saving for them to get it done electronically, or even send your paper certified. And that is going to cut into our profitability.
Yeah, unless we can become part of that, which we know you already are. You've already talked about that in previous webinars, that is a revenue stream in terms of doing the electronic service for them. So we've got a couple more minutes here. Steve, how about your group? So did anybody share their goals with the team about what they want to achieve for their business?
Not really. I'd like to throw in a couple of 2 cents here. People are human beings. And yes, things are moving to the electronic and the e-filing, but people lie. If you send them certified mail, the only time anybody accepts it is they have a rich uncle that died. So they refuse the certified. People evade. We'll always have that as part of our business.
Sure.
And that's one of the focuses that I try to offer my clients. If you got somebody who's difficult, I'll get them for you.
Yep.
I don't just knock on a door. I'll do everything, background checks, talk to neighbors, know what their habits are. And I'll go to a bar where they hang out on Wednesday nights watching a hockey game to get them. So those are the opportunities for me out there.
Yep. And those are continuing for us as an industry to continue to endear ourselves to the customers and know the need. And You're right. A USPS isn't going to show up at a hockey game or knock on the neighbor's door and see if they're around. So definitely an opportunity. Cliff, I know you've got a comment on this.
Sure. So some people, for their goals, are wanting to expand what they offer as services, talking about notary, talking about becoming a signing agent, or becoming a private investigator, and to limit the liability of people, especially from the servee's eyes. People are discussing maybe forming an LLC to limit their company's liability in case they get accused of spreading COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That is certainly a question that you should talk to your attorney about in terms of your business structure and limiting that liability, and find out about that. Anybody want to close out with the last comment before we move on to Attorney Elkins? It looks like Steve Glenn has got something.
I have something to say.
Well, I didn't get to share with my group, and I think I haven't heard this since we've all come back together. Colorado's open. The clerks and the courts aren't open like the public trustee. And what we found, and even hospitals, what we found is that if we call the hospitals or we call the clerk's office, they will give us an email address that we can send it to them by send the service to them by email, and they'll respond saying they received it. So, what I would tell you is that this is a great time for you to go the extra mile to solidify your relationship with your clients. I said it, Adam.
Good. Yeah. It's always the best time to go the extra mile, just because this is now and we're all scrambling. We should have been doing this all along and paying attention to our clients, making ourselves indispensable, asking, what can I do for you? What do you need help with? We get busy and we forget to do that. And that's hopefully something that we've all learned from today, is that, I saw this: live as though we're always about to go into a recession. And guess what? We'll take care of money. We'll take care of our clients. We'll take care of our businesses, and we'll take care of our families a lot better if we always have that mindset. Now, that's not a great way to live, but it is maybe sometimes a good way to think about how you should be running your business.